After hours, airport lost and found promise on the claim form. The airport is a machine that dreams in conveyor belts. After midnight, it forgets its manners and becomes honest about what it is. A long mouth swallowing strangers, a field of windows making promises to the dark. I parked in the short-term lot where the overhead lights hum like patient bees and followed the signs to Lost and Found, my phone face down in my left pocket, the pocket I use for things that are supposed to make it home. A janitor steered a blue cart like a boat through tidewater. Loudspeakers told the truth in 3 languages, and then told it again, because the truth is hard to hear the first time. Back home, Chris had said, "Can we talk tomorrow?" in the voice that means please stay now. Our couch has a degree in jurisprudence. If we sit at opposite ends long enough, it swears us in. I left before opening statements made enemies of us. On the skybridge, my screen lit with a message from D. Dante in my contacts, D in the way I label hazards to make them smaller. LF office, just talk. He didn't add an apology or a dare. He never does. He trusts me to know which is which. By day, I fix other people's paragraphs. By night, I try not to turn my own into weapons. Chris and I keep a code that works when we remember it. T means come here, you awake. Means I'm scared. Tomorrow means not yet, but don't go far. Dante drifted back into orbit 2 months ago wearing a neon vest, unzipped one too many, and a laugh that sounded like a glass agreeing to be set down gently. He didn't ask for anything. That was how I started bringing him everything. Lost and Found is a room that believes in second chances. Shelves hold the lives people forgot they were living. Single earrings auditioning for independence. Teddy bears who have seen blood war battles and won. Passports with faces preparing to be surprised. Dante sat behind the counter with a stack of claim forms and the posture of a man who knows where value hides. He looked up, and the fluorescent light forgave the 3 a.m. in his face. "You came," he said, "because grown men never tire of pretending arrival is a plot twist." "I came to return something," I said. "My spare key. Your good sense." He grinned without letting it reach his eyes. Restraint was the second language we'd agreed to speak badly. "Your name," I said. "It's been on my mouth too long for its own health." He slid a blank claim form across the counter, the paper stiff like it wanted to be taken seriously. He set a pen on top, airport issue, the kind that writes like it knows better. 3 words, he said. "Why are you here?" 3 words is cruel, I said. "That's why they work." He tapped the box for description of item as if truth were a luggage tag and not a country. I wrote proud at breakfast. Beneath it, smaller like a fuse I might or might not light, touch before arguing. He read the ink as if it had temperature. He didn't touch me. His hand hovered a breath from my lapel, the distance a match keeps during training, and fell away like the security camera had an opinion. "Does he know?" Dante asked. He didn't need to weaponize the pronoun. "He knows the apartment is quiet," I said. A rolling door clattered somewhere behind the wall, metal speaking metal like cousins. Dante stood, slipped the form under a little magnet shaped like an airplane, ridiculous and perfect, and opened the side gate. "Walk with me," he said. We wandered the aisles of orphaned objects. A violin case pretended not to be dramatic. A pair of boots waited with the dignity of old soldiers. "Everything is classified as either valuable or sentimental," he said, half tour, half confession. "People think those are the same category. They are not." "What am I?" I asked, and tried to make it sound like a joke. "Sentimental," he said, too fast, then softer, "and dangerous." He leaned against a shelf and the whole place seemed to adjust its weight. Heat arrived before hands do when men are trying to be better than their appetites. He stepped into my weather. "Tell me no," he said quietly, which is his most indecent sentence. I didn't. I met him in the inch that rewrites evenings. His mouth tasted like mint and the idea of citrus. When his hand found the back of my neck, his grip remembered humane limits. My body answered like a courtroom that wants the witness anyway. He made the sound men make when a small country surrenders and calls it diplomacy. I made the one I've learned not to hate when it belongs to him. We didn't rush. Conveyor belts reward rhythm, not speed. His mouth found the hinge of my jaw. Mine found the place behind his ear where regret loses vocabulary. His palm slid under my shirt and rested flat a second. Do you swear? And then moved with attention rather than appetite. He guided my hand down with the steadiness of someone who respects tools. I closed my fingers and he exhaled against my mouth a truth nobody paid to hear. He reached for me and I let him. We stayed quiet because fluorescent light prefers prose. The shelves kept their inventory and chose not to keep ours. We already cheated, he said later when breath remembered its job. We cheated when we started telling each other the truth before we told it at home. I know, I said, and the room did not ask for a signature. Dante folded the claim form and slid it into my left pocket with ceremonial slowness. His thumb traced my wrist once and chose not to stay. He stepped back the moral inch that passes inspection. I booked a room, he said, not triumphant. Weather report, not prophecy. Refundable. We could stand at a window and not touch for 60 seconds just to prove we remember ceremony. We could keep the do not disturb honest. I'm tired of being clever, I said. Clever's an upgrade, he said. Accurate is the ticket you already bought. He unlocked a small drawer and pulled out a novelty magnet shaped like a tiny suitcase. For your fridge, he said, pressing it into my palm. Cold helps letters behave. We closed up like accomplices who remember policy. The terminal hummed its lullaby for the restless. He kissed me again, brief, exact, something a manifest could keep without lying to itself, and walked me to the sliding doors. The glass parted without judgment. The crosswalk gave me time, I took it. The apartment offered its square of kitchen light and the fridge's patient hum. Chris sat on the floor with his back against the door, sleeves pushed to his elbows, one ankle crossed over the other, the posture manuals use when they draw people who are about to fix things. He didn't ask where I'd been. He tilted his head toward the space beside him. I sat. Do you want to be asked? He said, voice steady, not performing mercy, offering it. Please, I said, because prompts are the scaffolding of my better self. Are you lonely? Some nights, I said. Not here, not when you ask first, not when the kettle outruns the reasons. I took his wrist and placed his hand on my forearm the way he does when he needs to make sure I'm not inventing weather. His thumb traced once and believed me. I feel useful, he said. I want to be wanted before I'm useful. Tonight's procedure, I said. Touch first, argue second, report later. The kettle clicked like a stamp in a country that still believes in mail. He stood and poured water over mint. We named it dinner because names are cheaper than regret. I pinned the claim form beneath the suitcase magnet so Proud at Breakfast faced the room. Chris read the ink and his mouth did the smaller, braver thing. He took the dry erase marker from the cup by the fridge and wrote beneath the magnet, "Tomorrow, keep the torque." He didn't grin. He nodded like a man assembling a morning from honest screws. We made a rule that isn't noble. When prosecution tries to wear a bathrobe, one of us says lost and found, and the other puts the kettle on while the first puts his hands where history can find them. 5 words when 5 are enough. Stop at the shoulder, not the ditch. Try to want what we promised, and when we don't, write 3 words on small paper and tell the room where we failed and how we'll fail differently tomorrow. Days do what days do when you're trying to be an amateur human with professional consistency. The form in my pocket learns the shape of my left hand. Paper learns its carriers. On the late train, I draft messages to no one that begin I didn't ask because I thought that counted as kindness and end may your breakfast go right. I don't send them. The not sending feels like a skill borrowed from baggage systems. Keep moving, sort later. A week later, afternoon tries to be a test. I walk past arrivals and buy nothing. I leave a bottle of water by the curb with a note, for whoever is waiting for a sister. A skycap glances up and gives me the nod bridges use when they've held and will hold again. On my way home, I slip a blank claim slip into my pocket and write turn toward your name across the clean side. I don't light anything. When Dante texts weather report, I answer with a photo of steam and a spoon. He replies with a carousel of unclaimed things, a red scarf, a paperback with a confession underlined, a single glove whose partner probably ran out of courage. We flirt by inventory. We confess by logistics. I do not tell him the way Chris's hand has learned to land at the base of my throat when an argument needs a witness. He does not tell me whether he has a room still on hold. One night during the thunder, the power goes out in our block, and the apartment becomes a graph of voices. We drink wine in the hall with neighbors who pretend to like each other, and when the lights stagger back on, I find myself on the balcony with Chris. He says he wants to visit his mother this weekend, and I say I'll come if he wants. He nods like a man putting one foot in front of the other across a bridge he didn't build. The suitcase magnet clicks against the fridge like punctuation. Later, I go to the airport because habit dresses itself as errands. I tell myself I'm returning a book someone left on a seat. Dante is stacking plastic bins. He looks at me and then at the book and knows I'm lying, so he saves us both work. You don't have to stay, he says. It sounds like kindness because it is. You don't have to go, he adds to complicate the mercy. We walk the perimeter of the room and let objects coach us on endurance. A child's backpack with space rockets. A jacket that still smells faintly of cedar and someone's elaborate hope. A pair of headphones that learned too late how to keep a secret. We stand there and don't touch each other and call it discipline. He's the first to break. He presses his mouth to mine like patience finally taking a day off. He tastes like spearmint and the electricity of departure. Accurate is the ticket, I say, because I keep pretending we live inside riddles. Accurate is the departure time, he corrects gently. Ticket's just the excuse. When I leave, he hands me a little airport-branded pen, a ridiculous thing that doesn't work most days and then suddenly does. For your forms, he says. He doesn't say for your confessions, but the air writes it for him. At home, I fold laundry like a man trying to be sober. Chris watches me from the doorway and says, I don't know whether to hold you or schedule you. I answer, try both, and he does. And for a few minutes the room feels like the right plane at the right gate with no weather waiting. We fail and fail differently, and fail in ways that don't require anyone to stand under fluorescent absolution, pretending to know which carousel will save them. The morning remembers its job. The room does not demand a verdict. I keep the claim form under the magnet. It's a bad sacrament and an honest one. Sometimes I add a new three-word whether to the margin, ask before leaving, touch then talk, stay for tea. Chris adds his own, ask me first, hold the line, come to bed. The fridge becomes a departure board for two flights that insist on sharing a runway. A month later, Dante calls and says a passport has been unclaimed for too long and what should he do with a life that forgot itself. I tell him to keep it safe another week. I'm talking about more than paper and we both know it. He laughs, small and stubborn, and says, you always ask things of patience. I say, so do the people who love me. He goes quiet in the way that means agreement without applause. We meet one last time with the particular mercy tired men give each other. He kisses me like a record he doesn't want to scratch. We write 3 words on a spare form and don't put it under a magnet. We put it in a drawer. We name the drawer weather. We close it. I walk out through departures without a ticket because sometimes the most honest thing is to watch planes leave and admit you're not on them. I drive home and take the stairs 2 at a time because the elevator makes grief louder. Chris is at the table with 2 mugs and the posture of a man who has decided to be a harbor instead of a question. He doesn't ask where I've been. He tilts his head toward the place beside him. I sit. "Do you want to be asked?" he says. "Yes," I say. "Are you staying?" "I'm trying to want what I promised," I answer. "Some seconds I do. Help me make more of them." He nods and pours tea and writes on the claim form found, "A person." He slides it under the magnet and it stays. We eat toast like it has been newly invented. We memorize each other's hands again, because some luggage takes more than one pass to claim. We put away the pen. We practice not losing ourselves in the room where we're keeping each other. Outside, the airport keeps swallowing and blessing and forgetting. Inside, the fridge hums an ordinary hymn. We say tomorrow out loud and let it mean only what we can hold.